Oh my gosh, we are live. Welcome to
Yay.
I'm so excited to have this magnificent guest with me today. Like always, I'm Allison McFarland, founder and CEO of Allison McFarland Inc. And I just want to welcome you all to They Say. It's another Wednesday, and we've got another phenomenal, spectacular, awesome guest that I'm super excited to have in our presence and just be here. And I'm grateful for her saying yes. There are so many women that I admire in the community and that do just amazing work and are very intentional about what they do. And Abby is one of them. So I'm honored that she said yes to me. So thank you, Abby, for
You're so kind.
I love her. I think she's great. And we're calling this particular episode The Empowered Woman because we are all about women empowerment and just women coming together to just produce a greater good. So I'm going to let Abby just kind of get started with Abby. Usually I get started with like an introduction of myself and you.
Yeah.
So I did it. Allison McFarland, founder and CEO of AMI. I do personal branding, which is my favorite, personal branding and just strategic placements and strategic partnerships. I definitely think that community, building a cohesive community of all of diverse people is very important, and just being a resource and a bridge. So I am glad that, like I said, Abby said yes. I will read her bio, but I want her to say something before I read it. So whatever.
Oh, that's kind. Well, I mean, thank you, Allison, for having me. I look up to you. I think that what you do is amazing. Your personal branding is, amazing. I've seen you speak, public speak. You're phenomenal. So thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. And so my name's Abby Alford. For work, I am a commercial real estate broker. I focus on tenant representation for commercial office space and follow my clients. So that's led me a little bit into retail and industrial in some instances. I also have another full-time job being a mom. I love that job too. And I have a 5 and a 2-year-old little girl, Emma and Madison, and they're my pride and joy and keep me busy. So
they are, and they are so gorgeous. Oh my God. I love Abby puts up pictures of her family. I'm just like, oh my God, these kids are so gorgeous.
I do share pictures of my family. Yeah.
It truly makes my day. It puts a smile on my face because her little, is it 2-year-old? Oh my gosh.
She's a ham.
Oh, she's so delicious. She's so delicious. But she knows it. So I'm here for it. And then your 5-year-old, she's so sweet. So I understand. I am in that space with you of motherhood. And I just feel like being a mom is just another title that we wear, but it's also something you really embody. So I thank you for embodying. This is why I reached out to you and asked you, because you really embody that role of motherhood and you embody the role of women empowerment. You are someone I admire too, especially we just did like a leadership retreat a couple months ago for a organization we're both involved with. And Abby was leading us in a activity, and just to hear her authentic passion for just women's rights, women's ability to just advance in life and their careers, it really just warmed my heart. So I was like,
I do love doing that. Yeah.
You do, but that's really who you are. Like, we were just sitting there. I think we were trying to brainstorm about different activities for our side of the organization to do, and it just came out, and I was like, oh, tell me more. Like, I felt it in my soul.
Yeah, I mean, I that is what I love. I love helping women. I'm at She Space right now, which I don't know if they're actually one of my clients and growing, which is just fabulous. But women, women in Houston, women everywhere are just doing amazing things. And it's like down deep in my heart. It is what I believe in women. I believe in them growing businesses. I believe in their ideas. I believe in them bringing, they bring so much to the table. And that's what I'm about, making sure, and supporting, and like you said, empowering that to make sure that we have that representation.
Well, representation matters. And I especially feel like
it does.
Mother of daughters, you're blazing a trail in an industry where I don't see a lot of women. And I just feel like you are just a forerunner. And I don't even know if you realize it fully, how impactful it is to see, because it gives us other avenues for women to look at different career choices. So kind of tell us how do you start blazing this trail, because your background is not in real estate at all.
No. I mean, that's really kind. It's so funny. You kind of start doing something and don't even realize, the progress that you've made, because you're in the day-to-day grind. But, my degree and what I went to school for, not commercial real estate. But, I started when I graduated, it was 2007, and kind of the financial crisis was going on. And so I thought I was going to have to move home. That was when I graduated from grad school. And so I had gone for journalism. I was interested in marketing and, like we've talked about, communications, and that's where I want to start. Well, it was just not panning out for me. And so I ended up getting a job for a construction company, which is the last place that I thought I would ever land a job. And McCarthy Building Companies, that was my first job. And I'm telling you, it was like the company was fabulous. So a lot has to do with the people that you're around, right? And it was a family company, and I just fell in love with it. And they gave me the opportunity. I did well there, for which I never thought that would happen, but it was a construction company. I did really well in the marketing and business development aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I was learning a lot, going out to the field with the guys, and they were starting a Houston office, and they tapped me to go down to Houston, which is obviously where I've been now. That was not the plan, but I was going to come down for 2 years and help start the office. Got down to Texas, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit, Allison. Once I got down here, it was a little bit different. The construction industry here versus where I came from, St. Louis and Chicago of home, was a little bit different. And I wasn't fully invested like I was kind of back in the Midwest and back at home. And so I started looking outside where I was seeing more women, which is the commercial real estate. And so, because again, I was surrounded by men. Fabulous. They were great.
Yeah.
But I needed to see a path. And down here in construction, I just didn't feel that. I didn't feel it in my bones. So, I was like, it's time to make a change. And I went to CBRE. And because I had been in construction and was familiar with it, they let me become a project manager, which was, again, another great learning experience for me. I was running construction projects. I was working through the architectural, the engineer, construction, the furniture, all these coordinations. So it's a lot of like, when you're a project manager, you're managing the whole process.
Yes.
And so I did really well there. Actually, I loved it, and got tapped to do some account management for CBRE. So I did that.
So let's dig into your tapping, because that's something I think us as women are almost afraid when we get tapped for a role. Are we prepared? Are you sure you want me? Like, we start going through all those
That's right.
of why it's not possible. So when you got tapped, how did that make you feel? And what type of questions did you ask yourself?
Yeah, that's great question. That's so luckily for this role, it was one of my mentors, and she was going into the leadership role at that time. And so I was directly under her. So I was always very comfortable with that role. That job had run its course after about 2 years. And that's when I was like, hey guys, or at least I had to do something out of my comfort zone, which was brokerage.
Yep.
And so I knew that or at least I thought I was going to be able to do it, but I was very scared. I mean, full disclosure, very scared. That was about 6 years ago. And, I didn't know what I didn't know. I knew enough, but I knew I had a lot to learn. And so it was a little bit of a leap of faith to go and do it at the time, but I was in a situation where I wasn't happy where I was. So I knew I had to do something.
Which is fair, because we get to points in our life where we realize it's time to pivot. So,
yes.
So I applaud you for recognizing, hey, I'm not happy. What's next? And really having that conversation with yourself. So after having that what's next conversation, what made you comfortable enough to just take the leap? Because it is a faith, it is, like you said, it is a faith leap. And most of us are scared to step out of that comfort zone. So what made you be like, okay, Abby, I'm gonna do it?
I'm going to do it. Yeah. I mean, probably the fact that, so I was going to a team of guys that I had worked for before when I was in project management. I was going in it as in a different capacity, but the fact that they trusted me enough to bring me onto their team and say, yeah, we want you, was like, okay, good. I'm going to take this and run with it, this opportunity and run with it.
I love it. I love it. And I'm glad you took the opportunity. This is why I call you a trailblazer, because not you're trailblazing a path that's almost uncharted territory, but you're showing us that you're doing it by faith, and you're just taking chances where probably most women would not.
Yeah. I mean, plus my husband was very supportive. So that was a bit, you know, like having that support system as a woman is super critical. And at that point, I did not have kids either. So that made things a little bit easier for me. I want to just, you know, shout out to moms, working moms, because that can really change how you think about things. And so it was, yes, these guys were willing to take a chance on me, and they came to me, and I was really excited about the opportunity, but it was the right time in my life.
Okay.
Too.
So timing.
Yes.
Timing is a big thing, which is important, because we often can be presented with opportunities, and it might be like a fabulous opportunity, but the timing might not be right. So I think that's a huge point that we should take away, that be cognizant of timing. See how
timing for you. Yes. And for women, timing, you know, this sounds cliche, but it is so different than it is for men.
Okay.
You know, when you're gonna, if you're gonna start a family, or, you know, there's just a lot of dynamics for women that make timing a little bit different. I think, you know, who was it? I think it was Michelle Obama, who at one point said, you can't do it all at once, you know. I think Michelle Obama has referenced that one time. I think Maria Shriver's referenced it. Like, at women that are just, you know, great, amazing women have said, like, these are the times when you really have to think through how you're going to do, because the balance is hard.
Yes. No, I definitely understand. So there's a point you touched on that I want you to dig into more, because you're a working mom of 2 under 5, which is a good little space. But how has that been for you? Did you always desire to be a mother in a professional space, or what did that look like you prior to look like that for you?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked, and I'm just going to be 100% transparent, because this is a true story. I'll be honest. I never really had a full-blown calling to be a mom. Like, I was always in the back of my mind that, yeah, I'd like to have kids someday, but I was never like one of those women who wanted to have kids.
Mhm.
And I thought in my head that having a child could somehow derail my career. And I had worked so hard to get to where I wanted to be that I was like terrified to have kids. And it was so funny. And if you were to ask me, hey, what would you tell a working woman, or, you know, wanting to start a family? And I would say, do it. Like, it was the biggest blessing I never knew I needed. These 2 little girls are, you know, have made me who I am. And I actually feel like I have become better at my job, better, you know, just a better person overall, because I had kids. And so I don't necessarily know what back then was going through my head and why I thought that was going to derail everything. But it was just the biggest blessing. And I have so much more, you have so much more appreciation for other working moms. When you walk into a room of working moms, you all understand immediately, hey, I got you, you know.
Right.
But yeah, I would say don't let your career in any way, you know, derail having children, because I mean, it's just the biggest blessing that I never expected. And maybe that's why it's been so great, because I didn't have great, you know, high expectations. And so they've met everyone and exceeded everything I could have ever wanted. Yeah. So
I love it. So I definitely understand. And I think back to when I had my daughter. Uh gosh, I was 21 and just thinking about being 21, trying to figure out what I was going to do to take care of her. And I had to find a solution because I think I tell this story often. It's kind of funny, but not funny. I was selling cell phones, and I was selling cell phones when the first iPhone came out. That was my first like adult job,
Okay.
mother.
Yeah.
That was my first adult job as a mother. But in selling cell phones, I was never home probably later than 11 and o'clock at night. So I'd be missing out on a lot of stuff for her. And I remember going to Cheesecake Factory with one of my mentors at the time, and she had been in banking. And I say it often that there weren't many Black women executives in banking in San Diego. And that conversation for me, Abby, with her, it changed my life forever because she made me look outside of, she's like, you don't have to be a teacher. Cause I was like, I don't want to watch people's kids. I'm not very good at that. And so she's like, go, what else would you think you could do? And she's like, go join the bank. And I was like, what? And she's like, the bank has the same type of flexibility. She said, you shouldn't work past 6. You'll be off on the weekends. And that her putting me in the bank changed my life forever.
That's amazing.
So shout out to mentors, and
I know,
because
so
that's
true.
definitely a topic we have to discuss because you've gotten some great awards last year, ma'am. So tell us more, because I don't want to butcher it. So tell us more about your phenomenal award that I'm super proud of you for.
Oh, well, that's sweet. So yeah, I mean, last year, I'm in commercial real estate, kind of as we talked about, and I was awarded the NAIOP Rising Star Award. NAIOP is our commercial real estate organization, the prestigious commercial real estate organization. So I won that award, and that was amazing. And I have to give a lot of credit to my partner, Lucian Bukowski, because I couldn't have done that without him. And he's been instrumental, I would say, in my success too, and building my business. He's helped me tremendously. And actually, I didn't even want to be nominated. I said to him, I thought I was too old to be like a rising star, you know.
Why?
I just was like, I'm too old. That's like,
Girl, no, you're rising, girl. You're on fire.
And he, made a joke about it and got me to say okay, and then there we were. I was shocked, but he was there for me, and it was cool.
But it was such a well-deserved an award, Abby, because just like you said, you thought you're too old to be a rising star. I think you're rising and you're rising up. Like today I was looking on LinkedIn and I was so excited. I was like, man, Abby's on the board for the North of Habitat for Humanity. She's on.
That's exciting. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. That is amazing. Habitat for Humanity is doing so many awesome things in the community, and see that you're on
so many.
I'm happy for you. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I was like, great timing. Abby's got so much to talk about. I was like, great timing. So something you said that I don't want us to neglect, because I got a message that said the nugget you dropped about being a mother and not being afraid to go ahead and pursue motherhood. That has really, I've gotten messages saying that has really inspired other women who haven't taken that step to be a mother. So I wanted to make sure I convey that to you, because your transparency is going to be a blessing to others who are afraid, right? And think that you can't have a career and a family. It's a balance. Yeah, it's a balancing act, but yeah, you can definitely do both. But something you touched on is the allyship of men, and I don't want to forget that or bypass that, because I'm happy to hear that you have a partner in your husband and at work that supports your work and wants to see you elevate. So tell us, kind of walk us through how that's been.
Oh, that's so important. I mean, I do have a passion for helping women, and I would say 90% of my business is with other women, and the leases I do are with female leaders or female entrepreneurs or female business owners. But yeah, I mean, you can't do it without men supporting you. And Lucian, my partner at work, has taught me so much just about commercial real estate leasing. And anytime I have a question, I mean, he's there for me, even if he's out hunting, which he was today. But that's fine. He still answered. You know, and then I have my husband who is, well, he's super supportive at home. He's taking, he literally landed from Denver an hour ago and he's on his way to gymnastics. So you have to have a village. It's real. And you need the men who, you know, are your cheerleaders. And I will say I have, you know, two of the best cheerleaders. My dad obviously is a huge cheerleader. But those men that get behind women and elevate women, I think are going to see the fruits of their labor, because women are doing great things. And those guys out there that appreciate the women in their lives, I think the sky's the limit for them too, because they don't feel threatened. They just want success, and they're there to help you, and they're there to walk with you, not in front of or behind. And those are the guys that, you know, align. If I were to give women advice, I'd say align yourself with those guys. Yeah. Find those guys, because you need those allies, and the men that get it, you'll be able to find them. They're there.
That's important. And I'm glad you said that. And that is something that I feel like is another thing of intentionality, surrounding yourself and knowing who, like you said, men that get it. And you'll know it. That's powerful, because you don't have to coerce anybody to get it. It should be something that naturally just flows, and they're interested, and they're just invested in your success as you are. So that is awesome. And I love that.
And you'll know, I mean, you know, as a woman, you'll know those guys that are the guys that are there to protect you and are going to be there for you. And that is just as important as blazing your own trail. You know, you can't do it alone. You've got to have, I think, is it Carla Harris who says they're sponsors? You got to have a sponsor. I know, she's fabulous, right?
Yes.
And she has talked about the importance of that and finding that person, and it's critical. It is critical to your success at the office, at home.
So I think you just hit on something that I was going down anyway. And you just kind of just walked right into it. So perfect. So sponsorship, and Carla Harris is huge on sponsorship. I love her 7 girls. So great. Those are my favorite. You talked about sponsorship at home. You talked about, help at home, but sponsorship in the community and in sponsorship at work. What does community sponsorship look like? Can you give us some pointers and some tools that has helped you achieve the level of success you have?
In the community, in terms of volunteer work?
Yeah, you can do volunteer, anything that you think of. I think, because I can think of many things where I see you and you're just awesome, like the chamber. You're super active, super involved, like Tootsie's, like the American Cancer Society. You're just doing great work.
Yeah, and well, thank you. I love plug for the Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce. Allison and I are both extremely involved in that. We're both you know, we co-chair a committee, Rising Stars Together. And if females in Houston, if you're not a member already of the Greater Houston Women's Chamber, come talk to us. It's such a great organization. And when we talk about elevating women, like, this is an organization committed fully to doing that.
Yes.
And so I'm a board member for that, because obviously that's my passion. That's what we're here talking about. Yes. But as far as, you know, sponsorship, yes, you need those people. And it's funny, it doesn't have to be one sponsor.
Okay.
It can be multiple different sponsors. And I encourage you, you know, to find those people who are passionate about the same types of things you're passionate about. And that kind of comes natural. And then when you get to a level, Allison, like you and I, like, don't forget, like, you have to do that too. You know, and you have to provide that sponsorship and that knowledge and keep it going, you know? And so in all different ways, I have people that are supporting me, not necessarily just, you know, one thing. Susan is a huge mentor of mine.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
And what a great mentor to have, first of all. And
I know.
he is like
I know.
beyond goals. Like,
Oh, I know. She's amazing.
she pushes you out your comfort zone, but she'll show you how to do it through a lot of support. Like she's like a mama, like a bird mom. She just kind of pushes you out. You're going to fly. And if you need something, just kind of tell her. But for the most, you're just going to fly.
Yes. And so and that's, you know, and I've had a relationship. I've known Susan since 2014. So she's been with me in my career from the beginning.
So what's the best advice she's given you? Because you have some phenomenal sponsors and mentors. So you being where you're at today, tell what is some of the greatest advice that you've received?
The greatest advice I've received, and it's kind of come from a couple different places, so I'm going to stick to it, is be authentic. And be you. Do it your way. I am, you know, in work, Susan has given me that advice. Yeah. At work, I'm a commercial real estate broker. That is a very cutthroat business, which is not my natural, the way I do things. Right. But you know, I can still, what I've found is I have to do it the way that's most comfortable for me, but I still get the same results. And most comfortable for me does not necessarily mean bull in a china shop. I don't feel comfortable going, you know, pounding and, but I feel comfortable, very comfortable explaining positions and being empathetic to try to understand both sides and get to a mutually agreeable solution. So you have to find what works for you too. If, you know, just because it's, you know, been a man's world and they've been, you know, and hey, sometimes you need both, right? So you can't, my way is not always going to work. There's definitely a place for, and so that's why, you know, partnerships are important. Allies are important, all those things, because sometimes you have to pivot, but be authentic.
That's so true. And, you know, I live in that, like I tell everyone, I love that authentic space because that's the space you can own because it's truly who you are. And I think that's great advice to give this up and coming generation. That's great advice to give leaders today. That's great advice to give everyone. But it's so unfortunate that many don't feel that being your authentic self and having to kind of change out who you are is better than just showing up in your authenticity, because I feel like it's easier to connect with someone when you give them a level of comfort where they're okay with being them.
Yes.
You don't have to feel any other way. And like I tell people all the time, if you want to be whatever you want to be it and own it and be good at it.
Yes. Yeah. And then, you know, I mean, the other thing that can't be forgotten is know your craft.
Yep.
Be so good. One time somebody gave me advice that said, be so good and so smart, they can't ignore you.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that's easy, actually. As long as you go and you know your stuff better than anybody else, like you can succeed. And I was like, okay, I can do that.
That's good. So to master your craft, I'm pretty sure you're spending a lot of time out getting insight and information and staying on top of trends and just knowledge, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you know, a huge part of our business is information and market intel and knowing what's going on, knowing who's signing leases, knowing who's moving where, knowing what buildings are going up. And so you have to know it. When you're going to go have a conversation with a client, you have to know the market. You have to know what's going on. And the only way you know is by doing, right? So that's how you learn. And the more you do, the more you know.
That's really good, Abby. But something I want to touch on that you said that I want your opinion, your professional expertise, because you are a subject matter expert in this. Your professional expertise, and a lot of corporations are downsizing from real estate. How is that affecting your industry? Because So, and even small businesses, a lot of people are coming into that remote there, even though they were complaining about remote work, they're actually making people work remote now because they find that it's cheaper to have them at home than actually have a building. So what does that look like for you guys? What do you think the future kind of looks like?
Well, the future, that's a great question, and everybody wants to talk about it, right? It's the hot topic is remote work and hybrid work. People, for successful companies, to be successful, people have to have a place to go. They have to have a place where they can meet and they can, work together. Yes, Zoom works. There's no doubt about it. Hybrid is here to stay. I don't think we're going away from hybrid.
Yeah.
But companies still need that physical workspace. I can understand if you're maybe a smaller company going fully remote, but the companies that seem to be outperforming in terms of getting the most productivity from their people and are the companies that have found a way to make hybrid work. So they have high employee satisfaction and they still get the most out of that in-person time. And so you do hear a lot about downsizing, but companies are still growing. Have there been substantial downsizes? Yes, but it's still transaction value in terms of leasing activity. So if a company is going to downsize, it's not in my opinion, it's not necessarily as much a downsizing as right sizing. Right sizing.
I like that. Tell us more. So how does one right size?
Well, I think that right now you have to look at the way people work. And the way people work is different than it was 5, especially 10 years ago. And so you really need to design your space to meet how people want to work and want to be there. If you create that, people are going to come to the space.
Yeah.
People are going to want to be there.
Yeah.
What has happened, and it's really, if people ask me my thoughts, it's a tale of two cities because you have Class A buildings that have all the amenities, the Texas Tower downtown, you're seeing the Katy Freeway buildings, the Metro National buildings, they have all these things to offer their tenants. Those buildings are outperforming. They're leased. You can't find space. Class B buildings that are dated, that haven't done any sort of updates, those are the buildings that are going to become obsolete. And those are the buildings that have the high vacancies. Okay. The buildings where people want to be, they're sought after. They're not hurting.
Okay.
So you see these high vacancy rates, but you really have to look at the full picture of not necessarily people. It's not because people aren't leasing, it's because people are leaving to go. There's a lot of vacancy, yes, but it's in obsolete buildings that people don't want to be in anymore.
Okay. Because it's not up to date.
It's not up to date. Okay. It's not you don't want to get up and go there, right? It doesn't, you don't have the feeling of, hey, this is great. I'm here. I'm going to meet people, see people. Like, you've got to have something to go to create some sort of community and, why do you do it home?
So that's a good space to kind of talk about co-working spaces. So you mentioned that you're at the She Space. I haven't had the pleasure, but I've been to a couple other ones. How do you think co-working spaces are going to be, especially ones that are I love that we're getting a lot that are women-centric.
Yes, me too, of course.
Yeah.
So co-working is unique. Everybody knows the story of WeWork. Everybody's probably seen the documentary. Yeah. WeWork was I don't think ever going to be very successful. Okay. What is working very well is boutique co-working spaces that have met a niche market.
Okay.
She Space. It is female focused. You can tell by the colors, right? Mm-hmm. You walk in, you feel good, you get inspired, and they're out of space. They have a wait list for offices. Yes. Wow. But it's not so big. They're not taking down 3, 4, 5 floors of office space that they can't fill. It's more of a boutique feeling and then it's always full. You're always talking to other women, and doing, doing deals together. All the women in here kind of know what each other do. You can bounce ideas off each other. It's that community that is really critical. I know there's another, we just, we're in, Stephanie was just in the Wall Street Journal about that boutique co-working is doing very well and outperforming standard co-working.
See, but that's awesome. And I'm excited that there's people like you to help women kind of push this forward and let us know that this is available and this is an option.
Working an option, yes.
Because with these organizations shutting down their big corporate offices, people, you want that type of community. You need it, because I don't know about you, but when I was at home working during COVID, I was lonely. And my daughter probably was tired of talking to me about God knows what that I want to talk about. But she's probably like, Mom, please stop, do something else.
It's so true. Well, it's funny, I have my corporate office. CBRE is corporate. It's a beautiful office. I still have a membership here because it makes me happy. I get to interact with a lot of women.
Yeah.
And so I still hot desk here probably once a week, maybe. But I love coming here, and it makes me happy. It makes me feel inspired. And so, that's kind of unique, but there are quite a few members that are corporate women that just do this as another place to work and get out of the grind. And so that's kind of, that says a lot about the space and the boutique feel that you would want to have a membership there to go work.
I like that. You're going to make me come visit it.
You got to come. Yeah.
I've got to come because like I said, I've been to all the others, so I definitely need to find my way there.
It's the best.
Well, hey, I want to go to the best, so I definitely will come. Something funny that you said that actually I want to hit on, and I think we passed it, but speak to me, because you are an industry that has a lack of diversity in women and just diversity, period. I don't know a lot of minority women in your space. So talk with me through that. Like, what would need to happen? How do we encourage people that look like me to feel comfortable enough to try something new or get the exposure? What do we need to do?
We need to be allies, to just more diverse talent.
Yeah.
And you've got to find, again, the people that recognize the importance of it.
Right.
And I will say, it's crazy to think about. So I focus on office tenant rep brokerage in Houston, meaning I only represent tenants looking for office space and retail, whatever, industrial. If you look at the market and look at female office tenant rep brokers, there might be like 5 to 10 of us, maybe. Wow. I mean, that's an entire Houston market of 4 million people, maybe 15 tops. Wow. If you look specifically at office.
Wow.
That is crazy.
That is crazy
to think about.
Yeah.
And then you look at, adding African-American talent into that, and it's just not there. And so it needs to be a focus. It needs to be brought to the forefront.
Yes.
And I think it's most important to happen with people who understand the importance of it and why and what the benefits are, so that you're all, again, walking together, right?
I think that's important, and I can vouch for you. And this is her authentic self. And like I said, she's somebody I personally admire because she doesn't just talk it; she walks it. And she's so Abby's so passionate about women. I'll never forget it, and that's something I admire about her. And we have the pleasure, like she said, we're both co-chairs of the Rising Stars, but I also want Abby to talk about the importance of being on boards. I think that's something that we don't fully understand, and you have your board background is getting very diverse. So kind of help us walk through that also. There's so much I want us to walk through with you. You're like the poster child of what success is.
Oh, that's so kind. I have to tell you, this morning I was not feeling like that. My daughter, I was like, okay, this is the balancing act. My daughter was we talked about acting up a little bit, and she just said, mommy, all the mommies pick their kids up. You're the only mommy that doesn't, you know, and it just like waterworks. So it's a balancing act. And I appreciate you kind of saying that, because, you know, sometimes you feel like you're failing at one, but so that, all that to say, humble, you know, stay humble too, because there's a lot going on. But the board work is very, I've always wanted to be on boards. Now so I'm actually in a class right now called Women on Board, and being on a corporate board is very different than a nonprofit board, which, you know, and then there's for-profit and not-for-profit. So there's all kinds of boards that you can be on. I started on the Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce board. That has been such a great experience. From what I learned on the Women on Board Institute that I'm actually in, you know, probably a great place for me to start would be nonprofit.
Okay.
Habitat was something that came to me, honestly, kind of in a roundabout way. I have a close friend that is the executive director there. She's very passionate about it. And I did not realize all of the things that Habitat for Humanity was doing. And it's much more than just building homes.
Yes.
They have repairs, they have restore. And so I kind of started learning all these things, and real estate, what I do, lends itself very well to be a very big resource to Habitat. I happen to have a client that was moving, and they were leaving behind all this furniture. And this is a client, I mean, they are a family company. They were really uncomfortable with trashing their furniture, which is normally what happens. It just, their people were uncomfortable with throwing stuff away. So I was like, all right, let me use my contacts and figure out what we can do with all these things. Well, it turns out Habitat for Humanity and their restore could use almost all of it.
Wow.
So instead of just trashing it, we were able to, now it took a little bit more work, but their people felt better about it. We felt better about it. It was fantastic for Habitat for Humanity. We had a board meeting last night. This deconstruction project has led to so much sales. And I was like, okay, that's what, you know, when you can do something like that, where it just kind of all works out because you can use your resources and your contacts, and it's a win for everybody. Like, it was awesome. Everything came together really well for that. And it doesn't always happen like that. But anybody in real estate, if your clients are looking to throw furniture away or, you know, look to donate, like, please call me.
Yes, call her.
Because that is all things that Habitat could use and not-for-profits would love to have. So just don't throw it away anymore until you've exhausted your options, because there's a lot of people that could probably use it.
But see, that's awesome, because I see, so just to kind of dissect that story, right? Because that was so amazing, and there's so many pieces I want to pull from it. So A, you're a resource. B, you were you have a good name, so somebody thought of you and mentioned your name to be on the board. Nothing you were looking for. So that speaks to her. I feel like that speaks to who she is. If people don't mention your name in rooms you're not in, you need to reevaluate your brand. So that means Abby has a good brand, and her brand is strong enough that when she's not in a room, people are willing to mention her name to opportunities. So I love that. As somebody that loves branding, you get a star. You get a star, because that is so important. And not just that, but then she also used her influence to be able to leverage her newfound board position to be able to help somebody not waste furniture, but be a blessing to someone. So being that bridge and being that person that connects the dots for others, that's awesome. And I think we don't think about little things. That little thing you did has turned into something so much greater, because now Habitat Humanity has furniture that they can use for houses. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I had no idea what they were able to take and do. And it's, it's amazing what they're able to do. And they need everything. I mean, everything down to home decorations. I mean, they don't have anything, so, I'm super passionate about it. And, as I've worked with them more, I've gotten more and more, and it, like I said, the beauty of it is that it lends itself the board work lends itself great to me being able to help more because of my role at CBRE and role in commercial real estate.
I love that. So you talked about you being on the Women on the Boards.
Women on Board Institute.
Okay. So if I want to one day find out about being a woman on a board, where would I go to find out? Because that's so awesome.
It's the Women on Board is through Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. And they're, just like in my industry, women are underrepresented on boards.
Yes.
I think you see a lot of women on not-for-profit boards, but not necessarily corporate boards. Yes. And so really this is a class about how to be on a corporate board eventually. But you got to start somewhere. And kind of that sweet spot is you need more experience and life experience and business experience to be probably on a corporate board. But it has taught me a lot about what to expect in terms of committees and, responsibilities and all of those things that you can learn by being on a board. But I would say that it's helped me tremendously for understanding my role as a board member, how I support the organization or the person. And it's a class about that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Man, and we're going to plug the Women's Chamber one more time.
I know.
No, it deserves it though, because like I said, they're so intentional. I'm making up words. Intentional about the resources that they offer that I think any level of membership, where it's corporate membership or small business owner membership or individual member. I don't think they do individuals, but corporate or business memberships, it's worth it. Because I can honestly say for me, and I know Abby has mentioned it a couple of times, professionally and personally, it has pushed me out of my comfort zone. It has put me in rooms and connected me with women that have inspired me to go higher, quicker, further, faster, and just continue in that space. So it's changed my perception, because it's diversified who I'm around, and having that diverse perspective wouldn't have put somebody like Abby in my pathway, that we have a lot more in common than we realize. And our stories are similar in certain aspects. So it's giving you that leverage to people that you wouldn't necessarily get access to. Don't you agree?
Oh, yes. I couldn't agree more. And I love that it kind of gave me, it helped me realize that there is a place for me in corporate real estate.
Yes.
The chamber actually helped me realize that, because I was going to, rather than be able to ask questions of people in my company I found myself always going to other women in the chamber. Mm-hmm. I was always asking questions outside of my company, because there was nobody that looked like me.
Yep.
And nobody that had a career path like me. And so I was always going to these other women. Well, then I was like, all these successful women, they're not going to know the right questions to ask when it comes to real estate. Like, they're not going to want to go ask some man a very, what you might consider a basic question about real estate. Like, I don't know, what is the operating expense, or why do I have taxes as part of my operating expense, or whatever the question might be. They're probably not going to want to go ask a man that. And so I became a safe space for women to say, hey, can you look at my lease and tell me what this means? Or, hey, they told me this, like, is that right?
Right.
And it just kept growing and growing. And my business has grown because I became that place, that safe space for women, high-powered CEOs, to say, Abby, I don't know if this is right. Can you just look? And I could answer questions for them, and realized very quickly, like, women need this service as well.
Yes.
And it is very hard to negotiate a lease on your own, do all those things. And so I was like, you know what, that's what I'm going to focus on. And that's who I'm going to work with, is females that, you know, want a safe space to talk about their lease. It's very similar probably to banking, where women need a safe place to talk about their finances, and it's just more comfortable with another woman who gets it.
You know, that's funny you say that, because in the industry I was in the finance industry, women are the least likely to take when it comes to lending, they're the least likely to take the amount they actually need to be able to fund their business. They always ask, they underfund. And so you're absolutely correct. So we need women like yourself out there encouraging them, being that safe space, because a man has no problem asking for what he wants, getting what he wants, and he'll get even more money than he needs. But we always play it safe. And
that's right.
I am passionate about us not playing it safe anymore in 2024. But
I love that.
Yes, I am passionate about it. Like, no more playing safe in 2024, because it's time for us to maximize opportunities. So you have great resources, like Abby's mentioned, so many amazing things, like the Women's Chamber, getting plugged in with other women, and finding that safe space, having the allyship, having a community to help you so you can have that balance as a working mom. You've hit so many nuggets that we have so many people saying they love the questions. Brandon said he loved the questions. Thank you, Brandon. And then Kylie, I think I'll meet her tomorrow finally. She said, this is amazing. I think so too. Like I said, I'm so glad she said yes, because I know Abby's probably not one. She doesn't want to be in the forefront. And I'm like, no, come, because that's what they say is all about, is getting people that are doing amazing things, defying odds and beating odds, to share their story.
That's really sweet. I appreciate it. I mean, I am passionate about helping women and seeing women grow. And, you know, I feel, especially now that I have 2 daughters, I don't know if that was, you know, but it's important. And I love doing it. And I feel like if I have to get up and go to work, I might as well do something I enjoy. And so that's what I'm out there doing.
See, I love that. And I think, to kind of circle back on something you said, that your daughter said you weren't there to pick her up, but man, it's a balancing act, and you're doing a good job. And there will be moments, because I tell you, I think I told you before we got on live, I don't know, I can't think of a time until now that I actually was able to pick up my daughter, and she's about to be a senior, but she's come to know that, hey, mom's got to make money. Mom's not going to be always around. But look at the great things that mom is doing to make it possible when it's your turn.
That's right.
So always I get it. I'm crying often, and probably more now because she's about to graduate.
Right. Yeah, that's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. I'm like, Jesus, help me, Lord. But
I don't want to think about them leaving.
No, enjoy 2 and 5, because I can tell you, as someone who's at almost 17, it goes by so fast. And I'm showing her pictures, and I don't want to cry on here with you, but I'm like thinking about it. I'm showing her pictures, and look at where she came from to where she is today. I'm like, it is nothing but God, because it has just been her and I. So I'm like, girl, how did we make it?
I know you did it. It's crazy.
Well, I think I'm doing it. I don't think I've made it yet. I tell her the real test is if I did a good job is how you act in college.
That's right.
So people can say, yeah, Allison, you're killing. We don't know yet. Don't talk too soon. She's not in college. So we'll
That's
see.
true. Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, just hang in there as
yes. That's the beauty of it, is we're all in it together. And at some point, you know, everybody gets it.
Yeah.
Women understand.
Yes, understand is an understatement. Because understand, because I think it was during COVID. She's like, man, this is probably the most time we've spent together. And then it was like, am I getting on your nerves?
That's so nice.
Yeah, she's such a mess. I'm like, but if you ever want the truth, ask your kids. They'll tell you the whole truth, even the truth you don't need or want.
That is the truth.
They'll definitely keep you on your toes. But before we leave, and end your day, say, what is it that someone has told you in you can think throughout your whole life that you couldn't do that you've done?
Oh, great question. Well, it's funny. I didn't talk about this at all, but I have epilepsy.
Okay.
And it's, for me, it might be raising a family, because my health was always something that was kind of questionable, and whether or not, having kids, or doctors were always like, "Ooh, I don't know," and it was always going to be risky, and always, and so having a family for me, it's not career oriented.
No, but that's fine.
But
How you define
career oriented, I would say, if I was talking about career, it was my goal in the next 5 to 10 years to do a headquarter lease, a big, massive headquarter lease. And I was able to do it in, 2. And so I think that it was me who was telling myself, no, that's outrageous. Like, make that so far down the line that, it won't matter. So encouraging yourself to set goals that might not be realistic, but do it anyway.
Yes.
Do it anyway.
Yes.
So I kind of was limiting myself because I didn't necessarily want to fail.
Yeah.
And thinking, Abby, you're crazy. Why would you set a goal like that for yourself? And then sure enough, so just, they say not to set goals, but set goals for yourself and set them high.
Yes.
Set them high. Because it's not crazy to do that.
I love it. I love it, Abby.
Thank you.
Now you're going to make me recap both of those things, because that's amazing. So the fact that you have epilepsy, but you did it anyway. You had a family, and look at you. You got these beautiful little girls that I love seeing.
Beautiful babies. Yes. Lucky me. I know.
So delicious. Out here, I love when the little one's on the scooter with no shoes. That's my favorite. I'm like, you go, girl.
Yeah,
nobody,
you go, girl. That's right.
You go. Nobody is watching. We don't care. You just be great.
Go, little Maddie.
The biggest one is, I think we can end on this. And if you say nothing else, which I want you to tell everybody how they can reach you before we go,
okay.
But and where they can find you. One of the biggest things that you said is how I interpret is push yourself beyond your own expectations and your own limitations. You don't know. I think we box ourselves in. Yes. Definitely. So you achieving that goal of getting those leases, those 2 headquarter leases, you got 2 of them, right?
Yes. I've done 2, one big one.
Wow. That's awesome. Just to hear how you pushed yourself beyond your own limitations.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Don't put limitations on yourself, and don't be scared. I think I am very guilty of being scared of, the unknown and kind of playing it safe, like you said. Yeah. I'm very guilty of that. But I would say, I would tell everybody else, don't be, and go for it.
Oh my God. So. Yay. I'm like, what can I take?
Hopefully that was helpful. I don't know.
Oh my God, yes. No, that's huge, because that's your authentic self and you're being transparent. I appreciate that, because I'm like, man, after we get off this live, what are we going to take over? Let's go.
Yeah, go take it.
So how do we get in contact with you, Abby? How do we stay abreast of what's going on in the real estate market?
Yes. I mean, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Abby Gustis is my maiden name. Alford is the name I go by on there. You can connect with me on Instagram. That's where I post all my pictures of my kids. I do post real estate stuff on there too. It's at Abby G_Alford. Or you can shoot me an email. My profile is on CBRE, and my email's on there too. So I'm happy to connect. I would love to talk to you about real estate. I'd love to talk to you about being a female in your, whatever industry you might be in, your kids.
Yes.
Those are kind of my passions.
Well, again, I thank you for giving me this time away from your family. I thank your family for allowing you to come and
Oh,
talk with me. I
you're
appreciate you. And I'm excited for your 2024. Like, I'm so excited now that we've gotten through this conversation. And what a dynamic conversation it was. Like, there's so many nuggets. So I'm excited that it's going to save on LinkedIn. And then
okay.
upload it, and then it's going to save on YouTube, and then I'll upload it to Spotify also. And Abby,
Allison,
thank
I'm
you for saying
loving that I'm so proud of you for doing this.
Oh, thank you,
You're an
friend.
amazing host.
Thank you. I try my best. Hopefully,
And like I said, we're going to switch it.
okay. Yes, Abby said I need to tell my story.
So,
So
yes,
it's coming. It's coming.
it's coming. Right.
Definitely going to tell my story. I think it's important. But I have so many amazing friends. I'm like, let me just share them, and then I'll do me. But you guys have a good evening, and just thank you so much. And we'll be back next Wednesday.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
And we